Sometimes your journey is harder, not because God forgot you, but because He's building something deeper in you. Aisha wasn't our parents' favorite child, not her mom, not her dad, but she was hardworking. She was a visionary, right? She would save up money because she was working in a local school around their environment in Ijebu. And then every time Aisha saves up, it was just 5,000 naira that she was earning as a teacher in one of the local schools around their town. But her siblings will always steal the money. Maybe they needed it more, or maybe they thought Aisha was managing too much, like she was managing money. And her mom would say, Aisha, why can't you just be grateful? Why can't you just be grateful that you are being of help to the family? But not by stealing my money. But her mother never liked her complaint. So every time they're like cat and rat, having issues, fighting. But so she felt completely different, right? In a family that couldn't afford, to plan ahead. But one thing they plan so well for is about their daily survival, about the meal that they're going to eat the next day. They would have planned that one. But you see, when it comes to planning their future, planning their children's future, they were not involved. They are not around. You know, And honestly, Aisha had this friend, Tosin, who she got married earlier. She didn't have to struggle. She didn't have to go through what Aisha went through. She even got pregnant. She started having kids earlier. Aisha would keep to herself and held on to her dreams. But every time she saved up, maybe from a salary, 5,000 naira salary. And, every time the money gets stolen by any of her siblings, or she doesn't even know who, anytime the money gets stolen, it will look at like a misplaced priority again. She'll forget about her dreams. She'll be wondering, how is this dream even possible? Then luckily for her, she got church sponsored computer school. She got into the school. The church that her mother was attending sponsored her computer school. And then she was so excited. She was gifted. So she knew that this was what she wanted to do. One of the top committee members recommended for her to start training a woman from her house because of how good she was. Guess what? The woman's younger brother assaulted, almost assaulted her, almost assaulted her. Thank God for the intervention of the housemaid that came at the right time, coming from the market, carrying a lot of grocery, and met her with the man. She just started crying. She went home. She ran. And when she got home, she couldn't even want her to tell her mother that this was what she went through. Why? Because her mother would say, don't go there again. Or she would say, how did you dress there? It was as if everyone was against her, right? She finally went to Lagos because she got a job and then she went to Lagos. But before she went, what her eyes saw, because her parents had vouched never to allow any of their children stepped out of the house. Never. So it literally took a lot of conviction for her parents to eventually allow her to go to Lagos. Another harassment. The harassment again, all over again, from the factory manager. The factory manager was one of the nicest person, flattered her, gave her gifts, everything, told her that she should not work with the bad girls, not knowing that the man himself was the terrible person who had intentions of, destroying her future. Thank God there was a guy in their factory who everybody always mocked. Nobody really liked him. It wasn't as if they hated him anyways, but the guy was always singing off key. This guy was, it was like a lifesaver because it was the one that walked in, the least expected person. And that's why it's important never to look down on anybody. Because imagine the person that everybody always laugh at. Yes, although he sings off key, but regardless, this was the guy that saved her from her getting raped by the manager, or else she would have been a rape victim. But this guy saved her, came at the right time. He didn't even know. He just finished his break, happened to come, and he was still on his off key, singing off key, when Aisha screamed for help. And he was able to come in. And then the manager, they were able to arrest him because before you blink, it was as if he knew he was going to do that wicked act. He took off immediately. So thank God for the off key guy, right? She worked so hard. She went to school. She finally graduated and got a job, but no husband yet. Meanwhile, her younger sister Alero was already married. She got a job. She had it easy. In fact, everything just came easy. Of course, she didn't go to the university, but she happened to learn a skill. She learned how to make hair. She started her life early and she started having kids. She had a good job. She had a good business. She had a lot of people flood into her salon and all of that. But for Aisha, everywhere she had already felt down and her voice could not be heard. Her voice was literally heard. But one thing that kept, making her feel terrible about herself was the fact that every time people see her, the first thing they say to her is, "You're not even married. So all these achievements that you gathered together without husband, how are you going to maintain it? This, that, that." It was as if the ring on her finger mattered more than her life or than her achievements or her desire for, to live a better life. Even though she tried to hold on to everything, like it's only her best friend Tosin who knew what she was going through or who knew what she had gone through. Every other person is not aware. So, but one thing that keep coming to mind, even one thing that Tosin kept on telling Aisha is that never look at other people's life to judge your own. Don't compare your timeline with other people. Some people happen to bloom early. They get it early. Others bloom deeply. Imagine a rat, the way he gives birth to plenty children within the space of how many weeks? Another plenty. And an elephant. So Jekpe, if he gives birth one, sorry, that when he gives birth to one child in a year, as in if that one child even use one as small as the little elephant is, if he steps on a rat, like three or four of them, they will be found wanting. So sometimes we compare ourselves to other people. Never do that. Never compare your timeline with other people because other people might bloom early, others bloom deeply. The book of Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 reminds us that there is time for everything. So always remember that it might look like maybe you are not in your season right now, right? It might look like things are not turning out the way you desire for them to turn out. But just hold on and hold still. God still got you. To every season, to every season, there is a season for everything on earth. So never look down on yourself. Never look down in your downtime when it looks like maybe this is the time when it looks like nothing is working. Just hold on to God because God knows you and He sees you through and through.